Hey, you guys, welcome back to Both Sides of the Mic, the real his and hers, the show where we pull up two chairs, a little masculine and feminine, and talk about what actually builds a relationship we're staying for, whether we're here to help you fix your marriage or walk away from the mess that you've been tolerating, or honestly, to finally repair the relationship you have with yourself. The show is about growth and honesty and really doing the work that most people avoid. Before we dive in, quick nod to the Omega blood test. Get this done because your health is a part of your relationship. When you feel better, you love better, and it's that simple. So today, I know you guys can see I have a new co-host sitting in the chair. He's a stand-in for my friend Will, who decided to go to Colorado and freeze his bazonkas off or whatever they're doing out there. But I have my friend and co-host from another show, Rory Paquette today. And I'll just tell you guys, he is a podcasting professional. He's a podcast coach. And I'm pretty sure he never sleeps because he's running like this entire little podcast empire. So I'm going to have him talk about some of his shows. And I was just joking with him now because I'm telling him how many times, Will's been married and kind of what we talk about on the show. And Rory has more podcasts than Will has ex-wives. So if that gives you any sort of, trajectory on what he knows what he's talking about across the board. I'm excited to have him here. Thank you so much, Rory, for standing in for Will today.
Absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for inviting me. I mean, this
Yeah.
sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. You and I do a couple other projects together, and we've
Yeah.
been guests on each other's podcasts a lot. And so, yeah, happy to help, happy to jump in.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, he's perfect for both sides of the mic, okay? Because he does have a podcast show that I think probably planted a little seed for me wanting to do this. He has the Power of Man podcast. And I think if you guys are not following that show and you're a guy or you want your husband to get his shit together, get him on that show, have him listening to that. So Rory's not just a podcast guy. He's a husband. He's got a successful, healthy marriage. And I don't believe it happened by accident. I think good marriages are built on purpose with that communication and humility, honesty, all the messy stuff, the awkward conversations. So it's not just microphone expertise he's bringing. I feel like he has real life receipts for us with a raw masculine perspective. So,
Thanks for that.
yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the description and the call out because I do. I think it's very important,
Yeah.
in the overall scheme of things. So, yeah.
What I guess let's really talk about kind of the framework of what a successful marriage is. How long have you guys been married?
Oh, goodness. I got married in 98. So, um, 20, 28 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Together three before that, 28 years married. So yeah, 30 years together.
Yeah, I would say you definitely can talk about the framework of a successful marriage.
I hope so. We've raised three kids also. We're empty nesters. And so, all three of our kids are grown and successful and happy and married. So we're very proud of that. And, in terms of what makes a successful marriage, I think the one of the biggest things is expectation. And if you go into it with this false sense of expectation, not only of the other person, but also of yourself, then it's not going to work. And, as long as we're talking, total truth, I am divorced. I have been divorced. My daughter, who's my oldest, is from my first marriage. And that was one of those, we got pregnant, we got married so that I had legal claim to my daughter. We got divorced. We've been divorced almost all of her life. But, then I did it right and, really made sure about the person I was with, just like she did.
Right.
So, we went into it with very open eyes, very open hearts, very open minds, and we knew what we want. We knew what we wanted from the other one, and we also made sure that the other one knew that. So, I think that's really important.
I think that aligns with what I think is important too, and that's personal responsibility. I think that's not negotiable because
Mm.
if you bring two people together who aren't willing to own their own stuff or can't apologize or fix what they break, like nothing else matters. So a marriage is going to collapse when everyone's outsourcing blame.
Good point. Very good point. Personal responsibility is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah, because like you said, you've got to be able to own your own stuff, but you can't spend your entire marriage blaming somebody else.
right.
Every time something goes wrong or you have a problem, oh, well, she didn't do this or she didn't do that. I don't teach that in my courses and stuff, and I don't teach that on my biggest podcast that I have, Power Man, which you mentioned. Thank you for that. Appreciate the shout out. But that's not what we teach. You look within first, especially if you're the man in the relationship. Your first job is to make sure that you're protecting, providing, and leading. And you lead in all those ways. And if there's a problem, you look at yourself first and say, well, what can I do before I ask my wife to change something? And, I think that usually starts things off on the right foot.
I mean, that's huge. And I think that's lacking in a lot of relationships. I think that, you know, that masculinity got overused and they turned it into something that's negative. And I think, with us raising our kids to know what true masculinity is, that it's not toxic. Okay. Um,
Right.
I think that's an important shift, but I think a lot of people are missing that in their partners, that, that masculinity. Um, because you do the power man, I feel like that perspective is going to come on a lot through the show, just because, you know, I think emotional transparency is really important for the framework of a successful marriage. So, saying the real things, not filtering it, no passive aggressive hints, but real truth spoken without weaponizing feelings. What's the male masculine perspective on emotional transparency? Because we're emotional. We are over emotional. We are like your emotions and our emotions in one.
I think that when you take that and you say, okay, but women in general are more emotional creatures than men are. That's just part of our DNA and our makeup. So, when from the masculine perspective, the power of man sort of tenet on all of that, it kind of starts with obviously, um, you never let them see you weak. And that's a really big deal. It doesn't mean you don't ever show your emotions. It just means that if you're crumbling inside, you don't bring that to the dinner table.
Right.
You know, um, you don't let your kids and your wife see you panicking about paying for the lights to stay on.
Right.
That's not what you bring to the dinner table. That's your job. I mean, that's what you signed up for. So you have to take a certain amount of responsibility and you have to basically say, I can't be emotionally overwhelmed with responsibility. Responsibility is what you get when you have a family. Another one of our tenets, and you know this, is the people who depend on you have to be more important to you than you are to you. Doesn't mean you don't do self-care. Doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself and, refill your own cup and put your mask on and all these other things when the plane's going down. But it does mean that, if there's a big conflict one night and the kids have something or your wife has something and, you've got bowling night, well, guess what suffers? Bowling night.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to hear about you've got to go do your fun thing so you can't be there for the kids. You can't go do your fun thing and pay for it if when you sit down at the table and there's four of you, there's only three pieces of chicken. No, that doesn't work. You didn't do your job yet. And so a lot of guys, the reason that you see that in a lot of relationships, I think, is because a lot of guys are guys, they're not men. And they haven't accepted their role yet. They're trying to figure it out and they want it to be easy or easier. It's very easy to blame your wife for these things when really the shortcoming is in yourself. And whenever I get a chance to really talk to guys about this sort of thing, when they really think it through and they really look at their own behavior and you put a mirror up, most of them get it. But it's enough in our society. We've been too feminized, and not in a good way.
And I think that on that on that same note, like masculine and feminine dynamics are very critical. You can have two very strong people, but you can't have two competing energies. So people see me as super strong, independent, but I still take my place in my relationship. So that masculine energy, that's the direction, the stability, protection, leadership. He's my grounded logic, you know, on the follow through. I'm the one that brings that emotional resonance, the nurturing, the relational depth, the expression, intuition. So we have these things, but I think it's very important for us all to know like our place. And there is a place.
Oh, for sure. I agree with you 100%.
Mm.
People will hear you say that just like they hear some of the things I say. They'll hear you say that and they'll go, oh, so what is my place supposed to be?
Barefoot in the
Oh,
kitchen.
my place is what? In the kitchen? Barefoot in the kitchen. Um, and I know that that's really not the point of it. The point is that if you have two people, whether they're both strong or whether one's a little weaker, one's a little stronger, you can't have two people who are not doing their jobs
Right.
in the relationship. When you go into the relationship and your expectation is set and you both know what to expect from the other one, and then you live up to those expectations and you do your job, then productivity is high and everything works out. It's when, especially when the male comes to the table
Yeah.
and isn't willing to do his job, that's when the female ends up having to do her job plus part of his.
Right.
And then resentment starts, and then the guy's like, well, wow, there's no intimacy anymore. How can there be intimacy if she's making up for you because you won't do your job? And she resents you, you know what I mean? For good reason. So that's why I always try to just say, hey, it starts at home with us as men to begin with.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in a relationship in the first place.
Right. And it isn't about like, even here, we have the traditional role. I stay home, I homeschool, I take care of the kids. Ben misses like every sporting event because he's at work to provide for us. Like he's there. So, I'm like the single sports mom and I take care of the house, I take care of his lunches, but on the weekends, it's not like he just sits around and I cater to him, right? He sees laundry needs done, he throws in a load. He sees dishes need done, he throws in dishes. He sees dog hair needs cleaned up, he cleans up the dog hair. And that doesn't take him out of his masculine energy. It's just a compliment of like, we know our lives are busy and he shows up in places that he needs to be at all times. So, and there are times that I do like I'm like, don't you worry about that. Like, go relax. Yesterday, I know it sucked at work. I saw your face. I could tell, like, go relax, bring him a sandwich, whatever it takes. But I mean, it's things like that. And that dynamic has worked a lot. And people are like, you're lucky. You're lucky you get to stay home. No, we sacrifice and we work hard. And it's not dreamy. I don't want to be at every sporting event by
Yeah.
myself. you know, I don't want to be at any most of the time.
Well,
It's a lot.
and I'm sure I speak for your husband in saying that it's killing him to miss the sporting events.
I don't think so. I don't
That's
think
the sacrifice he's got to make. Oh, really? I'm trying to give him some
no.
I'm trying to throw some credit. You're like, no, that's not the show.
Maybe the wrestling. I will say that tears him up. Like he'll be there
Okay.
for some violent wrestling, or if we had football, but little girls softball and little girls basketball, it's not killing him too much. Wink, wink. My kids aren't going to listen to this, so it's fine. It's fine. Just say it.
That's cold. You don't know that now. Come on. It
Well,
would kill me if I missed any of my daughter's sports. It would have killed me over the years.
yeah. No,
So I made
it
sure I
does.
was there for those. It would have tore me up.
Yeah. It's a sacrifice because it's part of what I think is a really great framework is that shared vision. And we knew what our vision was. We know what's important. The kids need to be homeschooled. Mom needs to be home with the kids. So what's that going to take? And that means he sacrifices things and I sacrifice things. If you guys are not walking in the same direction, if you do not really set framework for a shared vision, like you're just roommates with joint bills. I feel like marriages need a mission. They need a why that's bigger than dishes and kids and chores and work.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Yeah.
My wife and I did a lot of things right, but that's one of the things that we did not do enough of. My wife was a stay-at-home mom for a very long time, raised in both my boys, and I mean, it's one of the biggest reasons why they're such great young men today because they got to have that time with their mom. And it meant the world to them.
Yeah.
And I know it meant the world to her. We made that decision together that she would do that. And she gave up. I mean, she could have had any career she wanted doing anything that her heart desired. You know, she's sharp as hell. She can do whatever she wants. She wanted to be a mom. Um, I think where a lot of people kind of miss the boat is that they think that, well, she's been with the kids all day, so when I come home, I should just do everything. Or I've been at work all day, so when I get home, I shouldn't have to do anything. And the way that we've always looked at it is that you have to, look, we both have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
She's a mom all day, and I'm doing my work all day. And then when we get home, then we have to split things up based on who's got what, who has what left in the tank. And let's be honest, there's days when I come home or I'm done, right now, I'm done doing podcasting and I feel great. And she's wiped out.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, this is not that tough to figure that out.
Right.
Then I pick up the slack.
Yeah.
I do more. When you keep score, especially from the male perspective, when you're keeping score, like, well, I did this, so why isn't she doing that? You're already in the weeds. You know, you're in a bad spot already. So it just has to be one of those things where the mission is to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
The mission is the goal. It's not make sure everybody has a fair distribution of labor. It's not a communist labor camp. It's marriage.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty big. But we didn't do that either, taking care of ourselves nearly enough.
Yeah.
We both really were focused on our kids. And the day our youngest left, and we didn't get any closure. We thought he was going to go to college and I'd get to watch him throw, and everything else for, at least 4 more years.
Right.
And he just said, nope, going to start my own business. Love you guys. Bye.
Wow.
No closure, just crickets in the house. We literally sat down on the couch, looked at each other and went, hey, nice to meet you.
Oh my God.
Now what? We didn't know what to do with our day. We didn't know what came next.
Yeah.
You know what? Because our entire lives were about them.
Right.
And so we've been putting that together for the last couple of years, to be honest. We're figuring it out together, right? What are our expectations? What do we want to do? But we didn't do enough of that growing up with them growing up.
I want you guys listening to understand how important that is because I've talked about it before. I've had this conversation with you guys. I think it is super important that you understand, and I've learned this as just my two oldest leaving. You guys are going to be all that's left. So honor that.
Yeah.
Honor each other. Everything you guys go through, you have to understand like you're on the same team. You're on the same team.
Yeah.
So honor each other in making an effort to see each other, to see each other's efforts, to value each other's roles, and to actually just every day speak to each other like you're on the same team. I think Ben and I have a little schedule during the week where we have just us time to connect because I don't want to have to introduce myself to him when the kids leave, So a lot of decisions we make and things when we talk about the future, it is just us. The kids are going to go and do their thing. And while we're not going to stop being parents, it's going to be a whole lot of us. And we never got that. We got married and he walked into 4 kids. So it's never been us. I think that's probably something that has benefited us, that we look forward to that. That is the end game. And I know he's just counting. TikTok. How old are you? How old are you? TikTok.
TikTok, how old are you?
Just
It happens faster than you think it does too.
Oh, I know.
A lot of folks hear what you're saying. They're like, yeah, but we got a ways till we got to worry about that. No, you don't.
No.
I mean, we were full-time parents, and then in the blink of an eye, we were empty nesters.
Yeah.
And everything in your whole life changes. The groceries you buy changes. The plan for the week changes. How you drive changes. Who uses what car, where you park, the dishes, the trash, the budget, everything in the world changes. And you're like, wow, this is just such a jolt.
Right.
And not in a good way. And so it does happen. So you're 100% right. Start taking that time now because, man, tomorrow when it's just the two of you sitting on the couch, looking at each other, going, "Nice to meet you," happens before you will ever know it's coming,
Yeah.
and it's really hard.
I think we both recognize that in that
So,
we know how fast the other kids have gone on and moved on and they have their own places and their, everything. It's we still have the 7-year-old co-sleeps. She's still like a baby. And he looked at me the other day and he's like, we have to let her stay a baby as long as she can. Like he gets it. It's time is fleeting and it goes by so fast. And if you're a new mom, I know you're like, it's never going to end, but I promise you,
right.
it goes by so fast. And it's can't take those little things for granted. Everything in life is a season. It's all a season. So,
So seven's your youngest, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got, 11 years, give or take, to
Yeah.
still be parents until it's just you and him,
Right.
and that's it in the whole house.
It may
Of
not
course,
be
in
that
your case,
long.
you have like a
Yeah.
dog and 15 cats, and I don't know how many other animals, probably, but
Too many. We have too many of everything. Too many of everything.
right on.
But their big sister just bought a house. And so we went to see it the other day and she's got 4 rooms. So my two girls that are still at home picked out their bedrooms. So
Oh, okay.
I think, I don't know, they might be going sooner than we think. And I'm not mad at that. Just kidding. I would be terrible. It would be
And
terrible.
you would be just
Yeah.
ripped to shreds.
It's,
You'd be like, "How can you leave me?
yeah. I
Don't leave
still
me."
think once a week, I'm like, okay, I want to have a baby. He sends me pictures of them when they're little, and I'm like, one more. Let's just do it. One more. He even gave me probably a month ago, just gave me a list of demands. Like, if I do all this, if all this is done on this list, I could have another baby. I genuinely thought about it for a second. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. But no,
That's funny. He's the one pushing for another baby.
no, he gave me,
You are.
yeah, he gave me a list of demands and said, if you do all this, then we can have the baby.
Oh, I get it now. All
Yeah.
right.
Uh-huh.
Nice. I've
Sure, there's
asked my wife
probably
about that a
like
couple times.
there's a Corvette probably on the list somewhere. He has to have some year of Corvette, I'm sure. I don't even remember now because
Got it.
it's a lot.
So the baby's not really on the docket for you guys.
No, but I am sad.
No, I understand that for
I
sure.
get another cat, you guys. We'll just get another cat. What
Wow. You have enough lizards running around over there. You don't need another one.
I know. All
Those
these dogs.
hairless things. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
You guys, I don't know if I talked about it, but Rory and I do the Boiling Point Faith and Fire. Okay, we have that podcast together. It's a great podcast. If you want a little political, spiritual truth, I'd say go check that out. But I was telling him the other day on that show, my cats are fighting. They had a traumatic event happen and they're still fighting. So we are on lockdown in this house, and it has been the longest like 10 days of my life. I think it's been 10 days, and I feel like I've been in prison for a year, but it is, you add kids and pets and everything. Like my husband is skipping out the door to work. He's like, do, do, do. Not sad that he has to leave this place at all. He's like out.
I don't blame him.
No,
I want to feel bad for you in this. I really do. You know what I mean?
no, no.
I like you. I think
Yeah,
you're awesome, but I just can't bring myself to feel bad for you in this case. You brought these hairless,
yeah.
schizophrenic animals into your house.
Very emotional. They are like children. They can't be alone. They are like kids, literally. She
Well, and
has
you
me
brought them into a house that has a dog that's, as big as, me and your husband. I mean,
both dogs. Yeah, we have a Shepsky and a Rottweiler, and
oh, I
and
forgot you have two dogs. That's
yeah,
right.
so it's terrifying. They don't like the dogs, but it's okay.
I hear you. Yeah, more on successful marriages and relationships.
Yes.
I think no pets is actually a pretty big deal, but hey, that's just my opinion.
Ben, you didn't hear that, and he didn't mean it. Oh, to be fair, the big dogs are his fault. I've had Chihuahuas. I'm fine with that. He was like, we have to have the big dogs. And so that's all his fault. I blame him all day long. When he
You're
has
safe then.
dog
Yeah.
poop in the yard, because I will not. There's some things we will not do. Number one, he will not clean cat litter boxes, no matter what. If I leave for a week, he wouldn't care. He'll just shut the door and throw some dryer sheets in there. Okay. Won't do it. I don't pick up poop in the yard. So
That's fair.
we have drawn a very fine line in our relationship of what we will and won't do. boundaries, you guys, I think are important in a relationship. I guess that is another
Boundaries.
great segue into what's foundational
Yep.
is setting that boundary. And one of those things is like we need our time. So he gets a certain amount of time at night to himself to decompress and do whatever he does. And at the same time, when he's around, I get the same time to be in my office to work on, my personal growth and whatever else I'm working on. So we're very mindful of that too, of setting those boundaries, which I think are very important in a marriage, you guys, really.
Absolutely. 100%. We have the same thing. And we have a unique situation because my wife really loves to go to sleep early. Just loves going to sleep early. And when I mean early, sometimes 7 o'clock, she's, on the couch asleep. So, and I don't go to sleep. So I get all the alone time I need after she goes to sleep for the night.
Yeah.
And I, go relocate to another part of the house and, she's, in the room sleeping out cold, lights off, temperature down, the whole bit. And that's great because that's what she needs for herself. But I don't have to worry about my alone time taking over any of our together time because I know I'm getting it every single night from, 9 to 3 in the morning. Plenty of alone time.
Well, too. That's so great.
So,
I think sometimes his is 4, even like 4 in the morning. So,
mhm.
and I'm out by 10 o'clock. So
So it works
it's,
out.
yeah, it's a great balance.
Right.
It is a great balance. And another reason why I'm happy the kid co-sleeps because I can't sleep by myself. I've slept with the baby for 23 years. I've always had that little snuggle. Um, so yeah, when she's not co-sleeping anymore, he's in trouble. Like there's going to be some rearranging of boundaries because I can't do it. I can't sleep alone. So maybe there'll be a row of naked cats there.
Wow.
I'd be okay with that. Maybe. I don't know. I've not slept alone without my kid. So yeah, boundaries might change, honey. Sorry about that.
There you go. All right. I love how you're giving this message through the podcast too.
I know. I know.
So is this what you guys talk about on this podcast? You send
Sometimes,
messages to your husband coded,
yes.
like, hey, this is what's coming, honey. Be
Yeah.
ready.
Last week, it's so funny. I'll just tell you last week. So I'm making fun, not making fun of, we talked about child support when you get divorced. And my friend Will pays a lot in child support, like $3,000 a month. So I was like, honey, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to have a baby with Will so I could have a full-time job. So yeah, just dumb stuff. It's just dumb stuff.
I was going to say, I'm sure you found that it doesn't work that way then too, because
No.
as they go down the line, the amount diminishes.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's probably what would happen. It wouldn't be worth it. Plus, he
yeah.
doesn't want to have to talk to me for 18 years. So it's a mutual. We're not really going to do it, but it was funny. It was so funny. It's terrible.
Your husband has a very unique sense of humor for what he puts up with.
He
That's
does.
for sure.
He does. But I am the
Yeah.
greatest wife. I even got a compliment today because, I make his lunches for work. It's important to me. And it's not bologna sandwiches, which is what everybody at work eats. He's like, I swear, these guys like bags of chips and 2 liters of Mountain Dew. They never have good lunches. And I'm making him like roast and Brussels sprout medleys. And I made dirty rice
Wow.
yesterday. So I make really good lunch. He's like, you've got some compliments. Best wife ever. I'm like, yeah, no. It's the least I could do. I'm at
Look
home
at you.
dream.
Yep. I got the neon sign behind me, click, best wife ever. Here I am.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. But we are intentional about that, you guys. And I think, how important do you think communication is in a relationship? I know your answer, but I want my audience to hear it from you.
I think communication is paramount. You have to be able to talk about what's going on. You cannot hold stuff in and just let it fester. And when I say communication, that doesn't mean venting. That doesn't mean unloading all of your inner turmoil on your wife. That's not communication. um, Conveying your needs, making sure that she understands that you understand her needs. There's a lot of communication that goes on in terms of, pre-planning, discussing expectations, discussing boundaries and deciding boundaries. The whole dog poop, cat litter box thing. I mean, it's funny and it's cute, but it's also really, really valid. I mean, it works for you guys. And that's something that could easily spin out of control into some resentment situation with the way we're all working our tails off today to survive. We don't have the temperance or the patience for nonsense.
Yeah.
And because we have so much of it in our daily lives from outside of our relationship, we just can't tolerate it when it happens inside.
Yeah.
So I think communication's gigantic.
Yeah.
It is huge.
I mean, I think it's everything. The minute you stop talking to your partner, like what even is the point?
Right.
And it's the same thing of like, I see you guys going on Facebook and complaining your husband didn't do this, he didn't do that, there's this and that, and I'm just curious, like, did you ever go to him and communicate? Because like, no matter how much we want them to be mind readers, I feel like guys have a one track mind. He's not going to read your mind if you don't tell him what, like Rory said in the beginning about expectations. If you can't voice your expectations, if you can't voice your needs or voice your desires, and I do this clearly even with like, you know energy. Like if I know I'm having a heavy day, I'm like, babe, whatever's happening, like you can't bring this to me right now. I do. He does come to me with a lot of things, and there's times where I have to set the boundary, and I'm like, I can't handle it today. Like you're gonna have to hold that one in, or hire Rory as a coach, because I can't take this today. So, and it's the same thing for him. Like when he's really, really stressed out, it's that communication of like, he needs that space right now. So I think it's so important. And this is why I think part of this podcast too is like self-development, because I need you guys to understand, like, you need to work on your own emotional intelligence. You need to work on the fact, you're not being reactive and you don't take everything personal. My husband's happiness is not my responsibility.
Hmm.
It is not on me. Like, can I do things that are going to make his life easier? And do I go out of my way to make sure every single day that he knows he's loved and he's adored? The guy knows I'm obsessed with him. There isn't one day that he could ever go to bed and be like, wow, does she even like me? Like, it's never a question. But at the same time, when he's not happy, that's not my fault. And the same thing for him. He's not responsible for me being happy. You guys have to be whole and sound in who you are for a relationship to really work. Because if I wasn't okay, I'm going to look at him to be what fills the voids in my life. If I can't love myself, I'm going to look at him and be like, how can you need to love me? You need to do this today. You need to say this. And there's days where I catch myself. So this is like a muscle to flex. It's not a perfected science, but there's days when I start I notice everything he doesn't do for me. I could do that. I can notice what he's not doing, and I rein it in, and I'm like, no, what are you not doing for yourself? It's that same thing, how you were kind of talking about men on kind of a physical level, an outer level, like your job,
Absolutely.
you have
Yeah.
to do your job. And I think women, we have to do our job too. We have to be emotionally sound and whole, because it's not on him to fill the void. You love yourself, and that makes you lovable. And then it's very easy to shift that perspective of like, you catch yourself in real time, like, oh, the way he's chewing is annoying me. The way my husband chews, I want to kill him sometimes. And I just sit, but I'm that person, you guys. I have misophonia. Okay, that's a real thing. I want to kill everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. If I can hear you eating, I'm plotting your murder. So I look at that, and we can nitpick on what we don't like about someone. And I think real resilience in a relationship and real framework for a foundation for it to work is when you can sit back and force yourself to see the things that you're grateful for. What does he do? There's a lot he does. Even when I know, because I'm emotionally intelligent, I know he doesn't want to do it, and he does it anyway because he loves us and it's his job. So I think just taking massive responsibility for you and your relationship with yourself is a core foundation too.
Yeah. There's a big piece to that. That I know men don't always get, because those are the guys that I work with, but I also know women don't get it all the time too. We put that out there and we say, okay, well, I'm not happy because she isn't doing this or she is doing that. The fact of the matter is I'm not happy. Stop.
Yep, that's all.
The reason you're not happy is not because of this or that or the other that you're getting ready to focus on. Okay. Those are things that are annoying you, and they're bothering you because you're not happy. So when you start the sentence with, I'm not happy because, you know what? Just stop right there. You're not happy because of something with you. Because there is not a man who is happy with himself physically, who's happy with himself spiritually, who's happy with himself financially, okay, who's happy with his career,
Yeah.
who's happy with how he fathers and it is happy with his role as a husband. Okay, the six pillars, that we work on in my groups. If you're happy in those six areas, yourself, then all the stuff that's going on, like how she chews or, did she say thank you when I did the dishes today, or any of this other nonsense, none of that matters anymore, guys. The only reason you're not happy is because something is missing in you. And we unfortunately have a really bad habit of putting the blame for the gaping hole in our own souls on the person that we trust the most, because it's a lot easier to put it on them and blame them than it is to look in the mirror and realize that it's on us.
Right.
Because then we can't be mad about it and indignant. Now we have to actually do something about it.
Right.
That's huge.
It is huge. And that would be a whole other topic on the show. But
Whole other episode.
before I let Rory go tonight, you guys, because I do love that we have like his job, his main podcast is to teach men how to be masculine again and to teach men kind of their place and their role in life. So when you think about being the masculine anchor in your marriage, what does that actually look like for you in daily life? Like real habits, real actionable, tangible steps that you take?
Great question. It starts with, like I said, everything's on me. I have to look at myself first. But in terms of just actual day by day, how does it really play out? My wife doesn't carry the groceries. I do that. My wife doesn't go open her own door. I do that. My wife is not, worried about taking the trash out. Okay. I don't need her walking outside, to go do that. That's on me. There are just certain things that are on me that I take care of. Okay. And it's not because, oh, it's the man's job or something, but you know what? It's the man's job.
Yeah.
I do everything I can do so that she doesn't have to do it. Now, that doesn't mean she sits around and does nothing. Believe me, she does a ton, and some days more than I do because I can't stop her. But we have roles because we've defined our expectations. And for the masculine, anything that's going to put my wife in any sort of physical disadvantage, anything that's going to put her out in the open where she's not protected, and anything that's going to expose her to possibly being harassed or have a bad interaction with anybody else, that's my job.
Right.
It's my job to do it, not just protect her while she's doing it. So again, it's to step up, and that's that. And believe it or not, it is my job to do my absolute best to kind of read her mind and do what I can, because she came home the other day and was like, "Hey, I'm just done." She was shot, and I
Yeah.
could just see she was shot. That isn't the time to worry about. Well, it's not my job to do the laundry.
Right.
Okay. It's time to go. What do you need?
Yeah.
Go sit down. I'll cook dinner. I'll make this thing you like. We're gonna take care of it. Go sit down. I'm gonna get you a glass of wine. We're
Yeah.
good. And she's not doing that every night, but when it happens and it's real, you got to step up. And again, it's not about keeping score. So I hope that answers the question.
No, it did perfectly. And my next question, and I don't know where we're at on time. So if we have to wrap it up, we can. But like, how do you handle those moments where, your wife is emotional or overwhelmed and just kind of spiraling? Because I feel like she's probably close to perfect as far as human goes. I've never gotten to meet her, but I can imagine you guys have a beautiful family. So, but I
Thanks
also
for
think
that.
she's a woman and we do that. I feel like we spiral, we get emotional. So, what is your role there? And what is it that you would recommend guys to avoid doing when their ladies are freaking out?
Great question. Whatever your gut's telling you to do, don't. Because the first thing we're going to try and do is reason. The second thing we're going to try and do is fix. And the third thing we're going to try and do is explain. You don't do any of that. Don't do any of those things. The most important thing to do if your wife is what we as men would consider overly emotional, right, is to accept the fact that she has a right to be. I can't control her feelings anymore. She can control mine.
Yeah.
And so you have to literally step back and give permission in your own mind for the situation to exist. And if she just needs to cry for half an hour, then you know what? She needs to cry for half an hour. It doesn't have to make sense. It's nothing I have to fix. I have to be there and I have to exist in whatever space she wants me in. And I have to let her feel. And that's really hard for guys
Really.
to get to that point. And I'm not perfect at it. I still mess up every once in a while, believe me. And I'm like, oh, that was not the time to try to fix something. What am I thinking? No, I've been around the block long enough that I can usually fix it on my own end and, get back into it. But understanding that she has a right to feel however it is she's feeling and that it doesn't have to make sense to anybody other than her was huge for the two of us. And I think that's a big thing for guys to take away. You don't
I,
have to understand it. You have to be there.
I think that's perfect. And I just want to add to that in saying, like, don't take it personal. Like, just because we are having a day doesn't mean you're not doing your job. Like, it isn't about you, as far as I can get you to understand that it's not about you. We just have the feelings. And even if something you did kind of ruffled those feelings, it's still not about you. So just acknowledge and validate the feeling. Like, I know you're super pissed and whatever. It's that acknowledgement, like I said earlier, to know you guys are playing on the same team. You're not against each other. So no matter what, your spouse isn't doing something intentionally to hurt you.
Right.
So when I'm upset, I know Ben didn't intentionally do this. So I'm going to calm down until I can say, hey, what you did seriously hurt my feelings. I don't need him to fix it. I needed to say, I just need acknowledgement. Like, oh, dang it. Okay. Or if I'm spiraling about something different, it's not his job to figure out my feelings. You're not responsible for your spouse's spiral. Unless you are, that's a whole other topic too.
Unless you did cause it, in which case C, answer B, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
no, good questions though. Yeah.
Can you I guess if there's anything else you want to add to what a strong foundation is in a great marriage that we didn't cover, I would want you to say that. And then I want you to tell everybody about all of your shows, where they can plug in, or why they can plug in, how they could plug in. And I'll make sure I link all of this stuff in the show notes today too.
Wow. Okay. You're going to do a lot of work here because I got a lot of shows.
Yeah.
I mean, it may take another half hour of show time for me to go get through all this, but
Good thing wrestling was canceled. I'm for it.
the only other thing that I would say is that you brought up a lot of really good points. And um, when you keep talking about, whose fault it is, and, it's not your fault and so on. One really big thing that you said that I would love to piggyback on was just that it isn't always about you as the guy either. So we want to take responsibility for our actions, but that doesn't mean everything's your fault. So, it's not the time to worry about it if it's your fault or try to say, hey, I didn't do this or that's not correct. But when you recognize that it may not be about me at all, it just makes it a little easier for you to go, I accept that she feels this way, because we always take it personal. We are ego driven males. That's what happens. So I just think that's important. Now, at the end of that, I do have 7 podcasts right now, counting hours. So first one's Power of Man, where we, help husbands and fathers to kind of regain that inner fire and take accountability for themselves, their lives, and their families. The second one I have is called The Podcaster Nation, and that's for every podcaster out there to come on and tell their story of how they got into podcasting and what they do and why they do it. That one's growing by leaps and bounds, is huge. The third one is Wake Up the Lions, and that is a show for Christians to come on board and openly share their testimony and how God has impacted their lives, and to encourage others to do the same, to sort of boldly profess their faith. The fourth one, and I'm getting a little, I'm like looking, going, am I getting them all right now?
Like me, not my kids.
It's, I actually have more podcasts than you have
You
kids.
do now.
I do now. That's right. I brought one back from the dead. But so the fourth one is called Step Up to the Mic, and that is for new or aspiring or current speakers, public speakers, to sort of come onto the podcast and deliver their signature speech, their talk, if you will, and help them to grow and get on more stages and get paid to speak. The fifth one's called The Right Path, which you were again on that one as my very first guest, which I appreciate very much. And that's WRITE, Right Path. And that's about authors. And it's not so much about, hey, here's my book. It's, hey, here I am, the author, and what went into the book, why this book and that. And that has just blown up. It's been really awesome. Ever since people heard you on it,
I
it's
love
been
that.
gangbusters. So
Well,
I also want to point out that you were my first interview guest on Podcaster Nation also.
that's right.
And you're still the only woman ever in the history of the podcast to appear as a guest on the Power of Man podcast. So, yeah, we've been intrinsically linked for like a decade.
We have. And I love that.
So,
And it's really
um,
worked out for us lately.
yeah, it has. The sixth one is ours, and that's, Boiling Point, Faith and Fire, which I just love. I mean, honestly, I have so much fun doing that with you. It's
So
not even, it's, I'm not sure I can measure how refreshing it is to just do that. You are so bold and out there with your beliefs and with what you're willing to say that it's a chance for me to kind of open up a
yeah,
little bit and sort of cast off all of the PC stuff that I do on all my other podcasts and just sort of be me and my beliefs. And, I give myself permission to do that because you give me permission to do it on the podcast.
yeah.
So it's really cool. The seventh one I just resurrected, and this is the last one, and I'll shut up. And it's one I had out before. I've had a lot of interest in it with a lot of the realtors that I know and that I've come in contact with. And it's called Real Talk for Realtors, and it's the number four. Real Talk for Realtors. And it's realtors telling their stories and why they get in the business and what do they do that's different and, what have they overcome and that kind of thing. They can then take that and use that as a marketing piece to send to, potential clients to say, hey, here's who I am. I was interviewed, right, on this podcast. And it's, again, kind of blowing up. So it's
Amazing.
pretty cool. So that's seven.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
know,
That's what I have so far today.
yeah,
Now, next week, I'll probably have an eighth. I don't know
it
what to
would probably be another one. I thought three was a lot for me, but that's just me. So you guys, that's a wrap for today's episode of Both Sides of the Mic. So I hope something that we talked about really hit you where you needed it, whether it's going to challenge you or encourage you or even just give you the language to stuff that you've been feeling in your own relationship. Huge thank you to Rory for last minute sitting in Will's chair today and bringing that masculine perspective with clarity, really. So please, you guys, go check out his shows, support the work he's doing in the podcast world. And he didn't even bring this up at all, which I don't know why, but he is a podcast coach. So if you have a podcast idea, and if you listen to me and you're like, oh, if she could do this, I could do it, you're absolutely right. And Roy can help you get it launched. Okay. If this episode really truly helped you out at all, share the show. Send it to your spouse, send it to your best friend, your group chat, whoever needs to hear it, because that's how this message grows. And that's how we keep having these real conversations that are actually changing relationships. So I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.